The Mercedes E-Class. It is an institution, a landmark in the automotive landscape since the 1950s, with the E-Class badging having been around since 1993. So this new 6th generation model has to live up to its hefty legacy and deliver the modern tech that big Mercedes are also renowned for. And none look better set to do that than this plug-in hybrid E300e, which gets an electric range of up to 72 miles. Naturally, the new E-Class is available with a fairly decent range of engines. So you've got your 2-litre petrol and diesel options, there's even a 6-cylinder diesel, and there is this, the plug-in hybrid E300e, which adds a 25.4 kilowatt-hour battery to that 2-litre petrol engine, which gets you a combined power output of 308 brake horsepower. So this thing will do 0 to 62 in 6.4 seconds, despite weighing over 2.2 tonnes. So it is not tardy. And I have to say, I think the styling is quite a sort of understated evolution of what you would expect for the E-Class. Maybe you like that, maybe you think it's too anonymous for a car of this price. Regardless, you cannot miss the fact that it is a Mercedes, because there's 3-pointed star here, massive dinner plate size 3-pointed star. 3-pointed stars all over the grille, and if you walk back here down the rather sleek looking Mercedes, there's even 3-pointed stars in the rear lights. There is the small matter of it costing £68,000 up to a punchy £77,000, but the plug-in hybrid will also be hugely popular with company car drivers thanks to the low CO2 and company car tax. The problem with previous E-Class plug-in hybrids is that a lot of them had really huge sort of stepped boots where you could see the battery, and boot space has always been a bit of a problem because obviously the batteries do take up some space. This one at least has got a nice shaped boot. Of course you've got your standard saloon kind of letterbox shaped boot aperture here, but it's not too bad. It goes way back down there, and you do also get 40-20-40 split rear seats as standard, so that's good, so you can drop the seats if you need to, but it has to be said it's just a bit small. So 370 litres the boot in this, in the plug-in hybrid, and you can get it as an estate, so of course that's going to be usefully more practical, but even the estate doesn't even quite manage 500 litres, so perhaps not as practical as you might hope. And has to be said, the 5 Series plug-in hybrid, the 530e, the nemesis to this car, well, it does have a bigger boot. Even so, I think this is probably going to be more than practical enough for most people looking at the E-Class. There is plenty of space in the rear seats, a bit more than in a 5 Series in fact, even if the advent of any number of super spacious EVs has made these traditional longitudinal engined execs seem rather less lavishly roomy than they once did. Still, you do also get a clever centre armrest as well as charging points and climate control in the back. This test car is an AMG line Premium Plus, which is the top spec model. So it's a lot of money, but one of the key things that you do get with this is that you get this screenage going on in the car. So this is basically like a kind of slightly reduced version of the S-Class hyperscreen. In the rest of the E-Class range, you get a standard 14-inch touchscreen in the middle of the dash, which is also really good. But here, well, you've got absolutely everything. Not only obviously your variable digital dials up here, your central screen, which has got everything on there, got your navigation, got your CarPlay, it's got all the features that you want, over-the-air software updates. It's a decent system. The only thing that really annoys me is that to change the temperature, you have to hit the thing and you get your menu there, or you just have to, there's a sliding bar here. It's just a bit too much. I just want the temperature there all the time, permanently, to change it, personally. But one thing I really like, on the flip side of that, is that there's a little shortcut button here with the car. There you go, and it instantly brings up all of the driver assistance, so it's really easy, straightforward, 2 prods, and you can turn off the speed warning, the lane keep assistance if you want, or turn it back on. So that's really easy to access, and I like that a lot. That's great. And for your passenger, because we don't want to leave them out, do we? Well, how about their own screen over here? Game of Sudoku, anybody? Well, yeah, you can do that. You've got all your features, you can have the navigation screen up here, you've got all your gaming apps, this kind of thing, so, you know, it really does have everything, and this is all standard. There is no options on this test car. Silver paint is a no-cost option, so you know you really do get everything. The rest of the dash is truly lovely, complete with classy materials like real wood inserts and very jazzy ambient lighting that responds to drive modes, climate control and more. It's so lovely, in fact, that we'd say it makes the S-Class fairly redundant unless you really do need the extra legroom in the back for chauffeur duties. So we know that the E-Class plug-in hybrid is quite heavy, but we also know that that's partly because it's got a really big battery. And I'm going to say right up front now that the real world range on this car of the pure electric running is really good. I think this is really why you're going to buy this car. So I did a journey in this the other day. It was quite cold, mostly on the motorway, and I still got well over 50 miles out of it on pure electric running. Today, mostly being slower stuff, it's warmed up a bit, and I'm seeing a real world range of 62 miles, which is really impressive. So most people really could actually live with this car in electric mode nearly all of the time. And that really is kind of a huge perk, because you're going to save quite a lot on fuel, provided you can charge at home anyway. And, you know, that's going to be really great. As well as, of course, the fact that this is going to be a big company car winner for a lot of people, because you're going to get really low company car tax because of that CO2 tax band. So there's all of that going for it. And, I mean, you know, without stating the obvious, it's a modern hybrid, so it's got all the settings you need, so you can force it into holding its electric range for later if you want. You can put it into electric mode, you can leave it in hybrid mode and it does its own thing. And also, if you do put your route into the nav, then the car is more than clever enough to know where it's going to be most efficient to use that pure electric running, or whether to save it for later and that kind of thing. So it's got all of those features going for it. And it is really lovely to drive. It has got that, everything about this car, from the moment you get into the sort of, it's got really heavy, chunky doors, this car, to the way the steering's got this lovely oily refinement to it. Just nice and light, but it always feels kind of keyed in. And this really does actually feel like a Mercedes that has the kind of build quality and the sort of heft to it that you want from a Mercedes. That's precisely why people are going to buy this car, I think. It's got that sophistication to it. If this car were to be in a commercial ad, it would be in an espresso ad. It's got that kind of sort of sophistication to it. It would be wearing a very well-cut suit, if you know what I mean. And it's an E-Class, and that's exactly what people want. My only thing, so as I've said, this is a top spec car, and that means it comes on 20-inch wheels, and frustratingly in the UK, you don't get air suspension on the E-Class, not even as an option, as you do in Europe, I might add, with the left-hand drive cars. And I think that is a bit of a shame, because the ride generally is absolutely fine, and it's got really lovely body control, and you still get a bit of a waft to it. So 90% of the time, 95% of the time, I think this car rides really well. But actually the road we're on right now is it's almost kind of corrugated. It's got real high frequency kind of bumps in it. It's a very old road. It's not a great surface at all. But this car, it does pick up on quite a lot of that high frequency, sort of really coarse, bumpy surfaces. And I think that's a bit of a shame. So I personally would save a bit of money. I do like the hyperscreen stuff, but I'd also be very perfectly happy with the smaller screen that Mercedes offers in the E-Class. And I would go for a mid-spec car on smaller wheels, maybe 19-inch wheels. I think that would make a big difference. And then I think you've just got everything you want, because this car, it is rapid. You can stick it in sport and, you know, the engine kicks in. The way that the engine and the electric motor sort of communicate with each other, 9-speed automatic gearbox, is really very good. Mercedes and BMW and Audi, you know, they really are kind of like upping the game with plug-in hybrid stuff now. It blends really nicely. Brake feel could perhaps be a tiny bit better. It's a little bit inconsistent, and sometimes you do get a little bit of a surge in performance when the gearbox kicks down, and you might not be expecting it in sport with the petrol engine going and this kind of thing. But it's really niggling stuff. Generally, what you want in this car is to have it in comfort, let it do its own thing, or electric. It's really lovely just in electric mode, and obviously it'll do motorway speeds and all of that. There's no problem with performance when it's in electric mode only either. The E-Class gets AC charging of up to 11 kilowatts, but it is a shame that you can't get the optional rapid charging that you can on left-hand drive cars. Even so, you will still get a charge in around 3 hours from a standard 7 kilowatt home charger, and with that very useful real-world electric range, there's every chance you won't need to charge as often as you might think anyway. So it's a car of substance, this, isn't it? And it really does feel like the best of both worlds, because you've got such a long range. Longer, I might add, than the BMW 5 Series plug-in hybrid as well. So I can absolutely see why you'd go for it, and it's all in that kind of intangible, the feel, the character of this car that just feels so kind of classy and, yeah, just lovely, really. I really, really like it. It is pricey, but it's on a par with its rivals, that's the thing. And like I said, a lot of these cars are going to go to company car drivers or people who are leasing through companies and this kind of thing. Honestly, I really, really like it. It's not without a few flaws. The lady that lives in the dash could be a bit more helpful sometimes, but other than that, do you know what? I really love it. And if you're after a properly kind of really posh executive with a really long range and a petrol engine, well, this is right up there. Don't forget to head to CarGurus.co.uk for a whole host of fantastic used cars, and while we've got you, please do like, subscribe and ring that bell so you don't miss any of our videos.